Very good morning to all the people out here, and welcome to the FE Insurance Summit 2024. We gather here today to discuss and share ideas about innovation, about disruption, about challenges, about opportunities. And we believe that forums like this are successful if by the end of the day, every one of you here has a few takeaways which help you grow your business. And that is the core principle on which we try to create the content around these conferences. I will talk about the preview, about what we're going to do in a short while. But before that, let me introduce our chief guest for the day. Mr. Debashish Panda, all of you know, he's the chairman for IRDA. And in the last few years, when he's been at the helm, we've seen a lot of changes, much wanted by the industry come true. And I think the biggest feather in his cap has been to work on the regulatory side by reducing the cumbersome regulations, redundant regulations, and cleaning up the compliance part for the insurance companies and making it, as we said, simpler to operate kind of a business. I think 78 regulations have now been consolidated to almost 20, which is, I think, a big achievement. And I think for that, we should probably applaud Mr. Panda. Because not only does it make life simpler, it also brings down the cost of doing business, the time of doing business, and I think that's very critical. And I think what I liked is the sunset clause provision that he's created, that every regulation, every rule has to be reviewed every 3 years, which means redundancy doesn't pile up. It gets cleaned up, like you do the Diwali cleaning at home. So this is once in 3 years kind of a Diwali cleaning at the regulator's home, where things are re-looked at and cleaned up. I think the other area of interest to the industry has been the norms on raising capital. I think there have been simplifications there. There's been more independence now from where and how you can raise money, and that's helping. Some people have been asking about reducing the capital requirements, but I think if that norm has stayed constant for about 25 years now, that itself means it's come down by almost a quarter of what it was worth, when the regulations first came in. There have been new approaches on crop policies for farmers and efforts to reach the elderly. And thanks to the leadership and efforts of Mr. Panda, who's been promoting extensive use of technology apart from measures aimed at widening and deepening the reach of insurance across the country, I think the other unique proposition that has come out is an e-marketplace, a public infrastructure platform which will enable the aggregation of the entire industry, the products, the intermediaries at one place. It will have beneficiaries and consumers, the intermediaries and the industry. And as we all know that Bima Sugam, the CEO, is already appointed, and I'm happy to say that Prasoon Sikdar, the CEO, is here with us today. Welcome here, Mr. Sikdar. The idea behind the e-marketplace is to make a One India platform where all Indian companies, intermediaries, and consumers can come together and solve problems. I think at the core, it's also about creating a common data repository which everybody can utilize. And hopefully someday, and I was just speaking to somebody before the conference started, a person who's not making too many claims, gets the benefit at an individual level. Right now, it's a collective. So it's a pool on which the costs are divided, and the individual for good behavior doesn't get rewarded. So I think those things should probably come about, and interoperability between different players will definitely help consumers. Another highlight of the summit today is going to be we'll have a lot of practitioners from the receiving side, people who buy products, talking about their experiences of dealing with insurance companies and the issues that they have. I think it's very important to listen to the customers, and mostly in these conferences, people tend to leave the customers out. So we have made a concerted effort to get the voice of the customer over here. So we have people from the industry who will come and share their experience of dealing with the insurance industry, and I think that should be a very positive takeaway for the players in the industry to take home. So we also have a session that looks at people who are breaking the mold and taking uncharted directions. So we have Mr. Ravi Vishwanath, CEO of Narayan One Health and Director of Narayan Health Insurance. I assume everybody has read about what Narayan Health is trying to do. It's saying, okay, as a provider of health services, if we also are a provider of health insurance, then the conflict of interest between the patient, the insurance company, and the insurer and the hospital can be kind of triangulated to the benefit of everyone. So it becomes a self-check mechanism where long-term health solutioning can become a priority over short-term treatment of an issue. And I think that's a very, very constructive way of looking at the sector and at the problem of not just insurance, but also the healthcare system, because both insurance and healthcare work on trust. And today there's a trust deficit in terms of, and we know what's happening in the Western world in terms of the cost of insurance and access to healthcare, and how insurance is probably, instead of becoming an enabler, becoming an impediment to get access to healthcare. And I know of friends and family who fly down from Canada and US to come get in treatment in here because it's affordable and it's accessible. So I hope what we create here continues and innovates for the world to follow, and we don't emulate what the West has done, because I don't think that model is something we want to follow, and it's probably a broken model. The other interesting area that we'll be looking at is PhonePe and its foray into insurance broking. So PhonePe, we all know, is about payments, and that's what we perceive. But I think there's all the apps create platforms which enable you to do multiple things, and PhonePe has an innovative model. So we'll hear from PhonePe, Mr. Vishal Gupta, who's the CEO. He's here with us on what their journey has been. India is, all said and done, a large rural economy, and we cannot not talk about what's happening in rural India when we are at a forum like this. We have strong ambitions to become a developing country, and we cannot do that unless we are able to move the masses who are living in poverty above the poverty line and into having meaningful incomes. And I think one of the findings of a research study was that cattle plays a very important part in keeping people above the poverty line and moving up and creating more income for them. And it is in this light we have Mr. Deepak Singhal, who is the Managing Director at HIBL, and he's a veteran in cracking the cattle insurance play in India. And he works with a lot of state governments today to enable their cattle insurance policies and execute them successfully. We also have a panel on insurance tech covering insurance technology. I think today every sector is impacted by technology, and especially with AI, a lot of new innovation is possible. So we have discussions around how artificial intelligence can be used in underwriting and fraud analytics. Some of the use cases, not all, because AI is all-encompassing and can have multiple use cases. We have a panel on the finance experts who will be managing the economic challenges and financial foresight, because risk is all about planning for the future, and people from the finance help play a very critical part in the insurance business, because there's a risk management part and there's the investment management part. Both are very critical financial functions. We also have a panel examining the talent issue, because as Mr. Panda announced yesterday, he would like to see a lot more players in the industry, which means we need a lot more people, talented people to create those organizations and support those organizations. So what are the challenges that HR people face? How do we create a talent pool? What are the deficit areas? How we work around that? I think that's an important question that the industry needs a solution to. So India may still have penetration of 4%. I remember we used to be around 1% when IRDA was formed. And everybody used to say insurance is, a 10, 12-year play. Industry will make losses for the first 10, 12 years. And then they'll start making, and it's a great business. And we are seeing the insurance companies' bottom lines now getting very healthy. And hopefully we'll see a lot more listings happen in the near future, which will propel more people to come in. Yeah, and I think the goal is that we are at the 10th largest insurance market right now, and is to move up the pecking order to the 6th by 2032. So our BFSI conference is the second in the series this year. We had one in June, where Mr. Panda was also there. And there he said, by 2047, that's the outer limit, that insurance for all should become a reality, but he ensures that the foundation that he is laying today will probably enable us to get there sooner, and 2047 is only the end point of before which we have to achieve that goal. And with that, I will ask Mr. Panda to kind of present his address.
Namaskar and a very good morning to you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to extend my warm greetings to each one of you who have gathered here today for this very important topic of Insurance Summit 2024, the Readiness Dialogue. And theme is Vision 2047, Steering the Future of Indian Insurance. Before I begin, I would like to place on record my appreciation for the Financial Express Group for organizing this very important summit, where it is a congregation of the industry, the stakeholders, the business leaders, the hospitals, the service providers. So a wonderful opportunity to deliberate on various issues as far as the readiness of the sector is concerned towards insurance for all by 2047. So bringing together even leaders, innovators, the insurtech, fintech players, experts across the diverse landscape of our economy. It's a wonderful forum, and I'm sure today, after we finish the inaugural session, you'll have the breakout sessions or the themes for the topics for discussion. We'll bring out a lot onto the table, and we'll be glad to look at those recommendations or suggestions which can be implemented in the regulatory scheme of things. The interaction and collaboration becomes even more significant, particularly at a time when India's economic landscape is undergoing a remarkable phase of growth and optimism. The CXOs across the globe, multilateral agencies, various other agencies suggest that by 2030 we will become the third largest economy. And so is the case with the experts, and there are studies and reports which suggest that India will also become the 10th largest insurance market. We are the 5th largest at this point of time, and as I said, 2030 we are expected to become third largest, and also with a vision of reaching a $30 trillion economy by 2047. So our grand vision for the country of Viksit Bharat, the vision that we have set for the insurance sector, insurance for all by 2047, very much in convergence with or alignment with the thought process of Viksit Bharat by 2047. So we actually today stand at the edge of a transformation, a major transformation across industries, from infra to technology, from healthcare to renewable energy, from skilling to entrepreneurship. And the transformation is not just about economic growth, but about building a resilient, an inclusive, and a future-ready nation. And at the heart of this progress lies the insurance sector, which plays a critical role as a protector and enabler of financial security. It may not be wrong to say that the insurance sector is the catalyst. When I say catalyst, that supports and drives growth across the economy. It provides the resilience and strength which is very much needed to keep the momentum going. It also stands as the guardian of economic stability and the protector of individual, corporate, and other economic interests. It enables businesses to grow and expand, knowing that they are going to be protected against losses, if any, and it provides individuals with the peace of mind in the face of the life's uncertainties. The evolution of the Indian insurance landscape, ladies and gentlemen, has been nothing short of remarkable. If I go back to the origins as a simple community arrangement to pool resources in times of adversity, insurance today has developed into a sophisticated and diverse industry that we see today. Yet, to fully harness the immense potential of the sector and also to drive the future growth, development, and innovation are not just important, but they are essential. The theme of the summit, I would like to reiterate, the Future Readiness Dialogue, perfectly encapsulates this journey. The very idea of future readiness and dialogue captures the essence of what is happening in the insurance sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the insurance sector is getting ready to reach out to every single one of India's 1.4 billion citizens, offering them the protection that they need at a price that is affordable and with a speed that is unmatched. And it is not happening in isolation. The entire industry has come together, united in its commitment to the ambitious goal of insurance for all by 2047, driven by a very, very participative and a collaborative approach and efforts. With this, we are embarking on a journey to redefine the future of insurance, a future where innovation drives progress, resilience is built into every solution, and technology empowers a consumer-first approach. I will underscore and underline a consumer-first approach. We envision an ecosystem where individuals and businesses alike enjoy comprehensive protection and all the stakeholders benefit. By 2047, we aim to ensure that insurance stands as a steadfast companion on the journey to financial security and resilience for all. Ladies and gentlemen, the next decade will be a turning point for the insurance sector. We are entering into an era of rapid transformation, an era where how insurance is viewed, purchased, delivered is going to evolve dramatically. Imagine a future when premiums are no longer one size fits all, but personalized to individual risk profiles, where data analytics allows for precise personalized pricing, where the entire business process from buying a policy to filing a claim, it is not just efficient but also trustworthy, where smart contracts automate claim settlement and you don't have to wait for weeks to get your claim settled, but get it instantly, fairly, and transparently, where insurance is a simple, swift, and a personalized experience. That's where we want to go. But let me tell you, the evolution is not merely about shifting from papers to pixels or from bricks to clicks. It's about a comprehensive reinvention of the entire business model. It's about bringing in innovations. It's about leveraging the power of technology to construct more efficient systems, deliver superior customer experiences, and to create innovative products that cater to the evolving needs of the consumers. Now, all of this focusing on a policyholder-first approach grounded in efficiency and also empathy. To support this transformation, it became imperative to have a modernized, principle-based regulatory architecture that is not only quick and responsive, but also anticipates and adapts to the emerging trends, while at the same time maintains a delicate balance in ensuring consumer protection, fostering fair competition, and facilitating innovation, and thereby propelling the insurance sector to the next level without compromising the sector's financial stability. Accordingly, in this very spirit, India's insurance regulatory landscape has been made not only principle-based, but also facilitative, supportive, and forward-looking. As Mr. Sindwani just mentioned, the number of regulations has come down from 78 to 20, and out of which 15 are only relevant to the industry for their operations. The remaining 5 is internal to the IRDAI. More than 375 circulars have been repealed, and more than 80 returns have been rationalized. And all of this is intended to promote innovation as well as enhance ease of doing business. And they're also reducing the compliance burden. Now let me take you through the journey that a new entrant, a new entity who wants to set up an insurance company, would experience in the revamped regulatory framework. See, the processes have been streamlined for seamless entry into the insurance sector. An online portal now handles the NOC issuance very efficiently. The NOC is required before you go and register a company. So you require an NOC from the regulator. And it's an online process. Between 24 to 48 hours, you get the NOC and you can go to the registrar of companies and set up your company. Once in the market, before that and thereafter, each new applicant, once they file the application along with the registration certificate, they are guided by a dedicated facilitation group comprising of 2 young officers from the IRDAI. They continuously do the hand-holding till the registration is issued, the registration certificate. Once they are in the market, meaning they start their operations, insurers benefit from several other flexibilities. For instance, the use and file system, which allows for quick product launches, and insurers can now partner with multiple distribution partners. Boards of the insurance companies have been granted greater autonomy in business decisions with a strong governance frameworks which has been now put in place, which ensures the accountability. Additionally, companies have the flexibility in paying the distribution costs within the expenses of management limit, which is now monitored at the company level, which means hitherto all the sectoral caps and there were various other caps which were there earlier has all been removed, thereby giving full freedom and autonomy and flexibility to the boards of the insurance companies to do so through a board-level policy. Recognizing the capital intensiveness of the insurance sector, restrictions on raising capital have been relaxed, eliminating the need of prior approvals. A lot of prior approval requirement has been done away with, and now that becomes the responsibility through the board-level policies, and the board becomes important to monitor and keep a close watch and eye. So, while doing so, we are also, serious efforts are going on at this point of time to implement a risk-based capital regime. As you are all aware, currently we have a factor-based solvency framework, and we now want to move towards a risk-based solvency framework, which also aligns with the international capital standards. And we are doing it an India RBC model. We are somewhere midway in terms of its development, and we propose and we all intend to roll it out somewhere around 2025. So work is in progress. There's a constant, continuous interaction with the industry to receive their input. So we are very collaboratively and closely working with the industry so that we put the system in place by 2025. Similarly, a shift towards global accounting standards and reporting, the IFRS, and very recently the Ministry of Corporate Affairs have already notified the standards. So work was in progress. Now with the standards in place, we again intend to roll it out somewhere in 2025 and make it fully operational and the reporting standards maybe by 2027, but those dates will be frozen after we have some dialogues and interaction with the industry, so that we want a smooth and a very easy transition to the new reporting standards. In terms of investments, today the total assets under management of the insurance sector is a hopping amount of around 70 lakh crores. Now, how do we ensure better returns for the customers or the policy holders? So the framework has been revamped to provide more avenues and better returns. So today, insurers can invest in the funds and funds of the AIFs, debt securities of the InvITs and REITs, and in other infra, like for example, the new infra bank, they can invest there. And also the exposure to the BFSI sector has been further enhanced. So all of this has been done primarily with the objective of getting better returns on the assets, which ultimately the policyholders would benefit. Now, technology is a driving force behind the evolution of the sector, and at IRDAI, we have a dedicated mission mode team, the InsurTech team, which is working to promote more and more of InsurTech adoption, FinTech and InsurTech adoption by the insurance companies and the intermediaries. The regulatory sandbox which we have has been revamped, and earlier it was the submissions could be done on a cohort basis twice a year, but today it is 24/7, 365 days, any day, anytime it can be submitted. And the experimentation period, which was 6 months earlier, has been extended to 3 years, and typically a long tail is required for life insurance products. So keeping that in mind, that has also been done, and therefore it will provide ample time for testing new products and processes and foster innovation in the sector. Even further to promote innovation, a unique InsurTech open house is being conducted at the IRDA every month, 15th of every month, to promote and also to encourage more and more innovation in the sector. And I believe that the new and innovative solutions will shape the future of insurance. New risk coverages are also being introduced, and the recent being the surety insurance, title insurance, and a host of other things are also on the anvil. And as and when these kind of demands come from the industry or from other sources, we do apply our mind and allow them to be launched as products, and that's where the sandbox also comes in as a very handy tool. Given the critical importance of data, the sectoral data repository, that is the Insurance Information Bureau of India, is being revitalized. It is aimed to transform it into a dynamic hub for sector-wide data needs, offer valuable insights, early warning signals, and analytics. And this will enhance underwriting, product design, as well as pricing, and also support IRDAI's supervisory role as we transition to a stronger risk-based supervisory framework. When I say the RBS framework, it is an enterprise-wide risk management, a 360-degree risk management framework where macroeconomic risks, operational risks, liquidity risk, capital risk, management risk, all of that are aggregated on an enterprise-wise. For each company, you will be able to assess, so you get early warnings, you make necessary corrections in order to keep the entity stable and resilient. These three initiatives, that is the RBC, the risk-based capital regime, then the IFRS and the RBSF, would actually strengthen the regulator also for ensuring financial stability of the sector at all points of time. So each step, therefore, aligns with the broader vision of insurance for all by 2047, setting the stage for a future-ready industry. One, the regulatory framework has been completely revamped, as I said, making it future-ready and giving more autonomy, more freedom to the insurers. So today, I think we were just discussing that to launch a product, for every product or modification, earlier you were supposed to go to the regulator and obtain an approval. You don't have to come to the regulator at all. You wanted to raise a subordinate debt from the market, again you had to come to the regulator for approval. You no longer required to come as long as your solvency and your net worth is fine. So a lot of such prior approval requirements have been done away with. So that would reduce provide the ease of doing business and also the compliance part as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today's policyholders are not passive consumers. They are well informed. They have high expectations as well, and rightly so. So they demand agility, they demand clarity, they demand greater flexibility. Now, to meet these expectations, we must offer transparency, easy access, and convenience at every step of the insurance journey. And thus, significant regulatory changes have been introduced, and these introductions are aimed at strengthening the rights and protection of the policyholders, while also improving the ease of doing business for insurers. As I mentioned earlier, product approval process have been simplified. All general and health products, along with most of the life products, now fall under the use and file regime, allowing insurers to swiftly launch innovative products, thereby offering wider choice to the customers and also tailoring to the evolving needs of the consumers. The only exception being long-term saving products, which still remain under the file and use, reflecting our greater responsibility to ensure continued oversight for safety of life-term saving policies of the whole policyholders. But with the passage of time, if we see that the industry can handle that responsibly, that will be also switched over to the use and file regime. We recognize that no two policyholders are the same, and which is why it has been ensured that insurers offer a comprehensive range of products that would cater to all ages, different ages, occupations, different occupations, regions, different regions, specific needs such as persons with disabilities, those facing mental health challenges, or individuals who have a chronic illness. And this list goes on, it doesn't stop here. Moreover, policyholders now have the power to customize their insurance policies, whether it's life, whether it's health, or general insurance, to meet their unique needs. It's also important to note that the last remaining tariffs on policy wordings in the general insurance space has also been lifted, creating a truly open and a flexible insurance ecosystem. Our vision for insurance is inclusive. We want to see that nobody is left behind. This means that no one should be denied coverage during an emergency, or products should cover special cases such as surrogacy, HIV/AIDS, and so on. The waiting period of pre-existing diseases have also been reduced. It has also been ensured that insurance covers every aspect of healthcare, including the Ayush treatments, and also capture all the technological advancements, say example, oral chemotherapy, robotic surgeries, deep brain stimulation, so all kinds of modern tools and techniques that are used in medical healthcare, that also should be allowed by the insurance companies. In general insurance, the availability of a base product with minimum coverage has been mandated, allowing consumers to compare and choose the best coverage options for themselves. And with innovative tech-based add-ons like pay as you drive, pay how you drive for motor insurance, policyholders now have unprecedented flexibility and control over their policies. To further ensure that policyholders receive the right products, suitability analysis, and this is typical for a life insurance product, suitability analysis has also been introduced, and for the savings-related life insurance and annuity products. This would ensure that the policyholders receive the right product that are truly suited to their financial needs and their aspirations. However, understanding these products is just as important as having access to them. So in order to enhance comprehension, insurers are now required to provide simplified documentation, and that too in multiple languages, ensuring multilingual accessibility. Each product must include a prospectus, number one. Each product must include a customized benefit illustration for savings products so that you exactly know what are the benefits that has to be illustrated, and a unique customer information sheet. These have been mandated. We all understand that insurance is a legal contract, so there'll be some element, no matter how much simple you try to attempt to make, still there will be legal wordings which the common man may not be able to comprehend. So to make it easy, a customer information sheet has been introduced, and that too at the proposal stage. And once the policy has been, the proposal has been accepted, it will be attached to the policy where the signature of the customer is obtained at the time of solicitation and also appended to the policy document so that he or she exactly knows what they are going to get from that product. This sheet would actually highlight in a very simple form the policy details, which means it will tell you what is the coverage, it will tell you what are the inclusions, it will tell you what are the exclusions, it will talk about the do's and don'ts, it will tell you what is the claim procedure, and also talk about the grievance mechanism. If you have a grievance, what do you do? So this will enable the policyholders to have a clear and concise information, and that too at their fingertips. Even if after the policy gets issued, say for example, the policyholders have the right to cancel their policies in the free look period, which was 15 days earlier, that has been enhanced to 30 days. So these are all keeping the policyholder at the core. All these changes have been made. The digital revolution is here, and we are embracing it with open arms. Now, the digitalization of insurance policies is a major leap forward. While policies now being issued electronically are being even stored in platforms like the DigiLocker for easy access. This step alone simplifies the customer experience immensely. However, for policyholders who still prefer physical copies can opt for them and no questions asked. Other important tech-based measures include the portability of the health insurance policies and the appointment of surveyors for, say, for example, a motor claim or a fire claim. So that would be done on a random basis through a tech-based automated system, thereby improving the transparency and eliminating any kind of bias that may have. So neither the system will generate and allocate the job to the surveyor, so that there is an independence, they do a fair job and submit the report. Digital transformation has also accelerated the process across the board. From underwriting to claim settlement, strict timelines have been enforced. All the TATs have been now very clearly defined to eliminate frustrating delays, making issues like insufficient documentation or delayed intimation a thing of the past. Sincere efforts are also underway to transition towards a completely cashless insurance landscape as far as the health insurance sector is concerned. For instance, cashless claims are now to be approved within 1 hour and discharge requests within 3 hours. Insurers are also encouraged to have dedicated help desks at the hospitals for prompt assistance. This isn't just about efficiency, but it represents a commitment to compassionate care, ensuring policyholders and their families encounter fewer obstacles during critical moments. Further, with initiatives like the Bima Bharosa, which is a strengthened grievance redressal mechanism, we are committed to ensuring that every policyholder receives fair and transparent treatment. All of these measures are not just reforms, but they are part of a broader transformation aimed at making insurance experience delightful for every policyholder, creating a future-ready industry that is modern, dynamic, and technology-driven, all aligned with the ambitious vision of insurance for all by 2047. This shift will take insurance from being something very complicated and distant to a service that effortlessly provides peace of mind. That's the kind of transformation we need to make insurance an integral part and a trusted part of everyone's lives. In this direction, the upcoming Bima Trinity holds significant promise. I'm happy to inform that its implementation is at an advanced stage. For the unserved, the unique Trinity includes Bima Vistar, a simple benefit-based product with parametric triggers, Bima Vahak, or the Bima Didis, which would be a localized, women-centric insurance field force, and the Bima Sugam. The Bima Sugam, the most important one, will eventually become a public digital financial market infrastructure. It would be an electronic marketplace protocol. It's not a platform, but it's a protocol, different networks talking to each other, which would democratize and universalize insurance. When I say universalize and democratize, it is accessible to all, rich, poor, middle class, everybody can access without paying a single penny. And when I say we want to democratize and universalize, then it goes to every nook and corner, to the last mile, to the last house, and to the last person, and it is at the doorstep of the customer to make a choice of what he or she wants to buy. He buys, he has the choice, he pays through the UPI payment gateway, and he or she gets the policy right there in his feature phone or, in his smartphone or on his email. And should he require a printout, the printout can also be obtained. So that's the kind of convenience we want to provide, and that's the kind of access to deepen and widen insurance inclusion. And I think this probably will be a big game changer. Now, connected with the India stack, it will also deliver real-time insurance services. I'm talking of the Bima Sugam, transcending all the geographical boundaries and income disparities. It will also empower the insurance agents, making them more accessible, more efficient, while reducing the information asymmetry and providing policyholders with more choices. So it's a win-win-win for all. That is what the Bima Trinity is going to do. The process is intangible. The company behind the Bima Sugam is now formally registered, and the CEO has been appointed. And the CEO is sitting right next to you, is here, middle of all of us, Mr. Prasoon Sikdar. The appointment of other key management personnel are in progress. I think very soon they'll be able to appoint, and we'll have the entire leadership team in place very soon. The process of onboarding the technology service provider is also underway. So we are pretty much, charged up to see this happening soon, not defining a date, but yes, it'll be, you don't have to wait for a very long time. For Bima Vahak, the guidelines have been issued, and the final structure of the Bima Bistar also, the product has been finalized. User acceptance testing for the tech platform to support the Bima Vahaks is set to begin shortly, paving the way for a soft launch. The tech platform going forward will get integrated with the Bima Sugam, making it a single integrated technology protocol for the sector, offering seamless services across the insurance value chain. All of this put together, ladies and gentlemen, are the stepping stones towards realizing our vision of insurance for all by 2047. Furthermore, an attempt is also being made to involve every stakeholder to make inclusive insurance a reality. In this direction, a state-level insurance plan has been formulated, wherein each insurer has been entrusted with the responsibility of increasing, deepening, widening insurance inclusion in the assigned state or the union territory. And I'm happy to share that the support that we have received from the state governments in this initiative is very encouraging, with several states have already constituted the state-level insurance committee and the district-level insurance committees. IRDA will soon issue a circular detailing the state insurance plan, underscoring the commitment to bring coverage to the last mile. Working at the grassroots and providing protection to the most vulnerable would be the key to our vision of universal coverage of insurance before 2047. We are on the cusp of a new era in insurance, one that will unlock the sector's true potential. Second, bridge the protection gap. And thirdly, to ensure that insurance for all becomes a reality by 2047. So this is not just a slogan, it's a call to action. So let us work together to create an India where insurance is not a luxury, but the basic right of all. Let us work together to make this vision a reality. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Mr. Panda. And before I open the floor for a few questions, I think I need to correct a faux pas. I failed to mention the next session that we have today, where we have Mr. Anand Singhi. He is the Chief Retail and Government Head at ICICI Lombard, and he'll be talking to us about digital transformation to digital disruption. And I don't know if Anand knows, But ICICI Lombard, way back in early 2000, was one of the pioneers when it came to adopting digital. And was the first client that we got on ET, which wanted to run a lead-based campaign and use internet for gathering leads to grow their health business. So I think we'll hear from him. I don't want to take away from his session. And we have the floor open, so if there are any questions, please raise your hand, introduce yourself, and then ask your question.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir, for your detailed explanation about the steps taken by the IRDA. We are really thankful to you. Sir, couple of suggestions. The IRDA site is not updated very regularly, so that's a suggestion. IRDA site is not updated very regularly. We are interested in the business done by the companies on a monthly basis, so it will be helpful if it is updated regularly.
Site being updated on a regular basis. I think he's interested in some data points.
Earlier it was there, but nowadays it has been discontinued.
Can you kindly share the details with me? As in
Sure.
What are you looking at? Otherwise, it gets updated as and when the regulation is notified or any changes that are made. And the annual report is also placed on time where you get all the granular details. So very much, but we are open to the suggestions. If you could write to us or email us, we'll definitely look at it.
And secondly, sir, you are doing excellently good about the companies and to protect the interests of the insurer as well as the insured. But what about the distributors? I mean, I'll be really glad if you can, give some kind of weightage to the distributors as well. Because nowadays what happens, when we distribute any company's products, they compel us to sell the particular products only. So even if your mission is to insurance for all, it will defeat somewhere, because they compel us to sell the only couple of products, otherwise it is not available to us. And secondly, like a life insurance, if it will be possible for you to give some kind of, commission on a perpetual basis, as and when the renewal is done, that will be great, sir.
See, the regulatory framework has been created in a manner where every stakeholder's interests are protected, but as I said, the policyholder has to be at the top. You cannot take the policyholders for granted, nor can we compromise the policyholder's interest. As regulator, we have to make sure that the policyholder gets the best deal. Having said that, as I said, the Bima Sugam is going to be anybody can sell insurance through the Bima Sugam portal, which means it will become an open architecture kind of. You go and see the intermediary is interested to go, an agency, for example, wants to sell a product, and earn his or her commission or whatever remuneration that the company wishes to give. So they will become more efficient, they will be able to earn more, their incomes will get augmented, and more people getting covered, the incomes will also grow. Rather than, chasing one or two individuals, today with the Bima Sugam, you will be able to sell more number of policies within the same time frame. And that too to the full satisfaction of the customer. Everything is done there and the customer, right from the solicitation, right from the payment till getting the policy. Can you imagine a journey where the customer gets everything within an hour's time? So that is the kind of, ecosystem that is being attempted to be created, and I'm sure we will see that happening very soon. So I don't think should be any concern for any of the distributors, rather they should fully leverage. And then of course, we are also encouraging tech adoption by the intermediaries who operate on a larger scale. So I think all these innovations are applicable for every stakeholder who are operating in this ecosystem, be it insurance companies or the distributors or the technology the service providers, everybody who is involved in this supply chain or in this value chain.
Lady on the front.
Thank you,
desk.
sir. Good morning, sir. And thank you very much for this enlightening session that you have given to us. It is music to our ears. Sir, as a
Please
buyer of
introduce
the-
yourself first.
Sorry?
Please introduce
I'm
yourself.
Anisha Udeshi from Cipla. I'm a risk manager, global risk manager. So, sir, this is music to our ears, and as a buyer of insurance, we have a request that we need to have a seat at the table in IRDA. Because I definitely appreciate all the stakeholders are providing all the inputs for improvement in the services, in the products, or various aspects of insurance buying. But we feel that if we are heard better, we can have a, if we have a seat at the table, we'll be heard better and the outcome would be better, sir. And the second thing that we feel that so we get to hear only at the time of this kind of conferences, and so we think that if we can have a seat at the table, a representation, maybe from MSMEs or SMEs or a manufacturer or bigger corporates, we could have a seat at the table and we could have a face-to-face discussions. Then it could be better for us. And the second thing that we feel that as a pharma company, I'm talking from a pharma company's perspective, that like fintech and like iTech, I mean technology, we can also partner with insurance companies and provide our products. Like we are not only a pharma company who's providing pharmaceutical products or medicines, but we also have health tech kind of solutions that are available from our desk. And if we have a tie-up with insurance companies, which insurance companies generally not very comfortable with, because they are saying that IRDA doesn't allow us to have a tie-up with you. So if we can have that kind of a tie-up, we would be able to provide a long-term solutions for our aging population in India. And that is a request, sir. So if you can just look at these two aspects, I would be heavily, pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me just give a brief response to your question. See, we deal with the regulated entities. It's not possible to, meet up with all the unregulated entities to be coming onto the table. But having said that, there are two councils, one for the general insurance and one for the life insurance council, which is a aggregation of all the insurance entities are the members. And such suggestions should come through them. And if those suggestions, or you can write to us, no harm. What is it that it will help the insurance sector for its growth and development, and also for the from the policyholders' perspective? We are willing to examine. But having said that, I think the first approach should be to the insurance companies. And if they feel that there is value and it's worth, then the councils will recommend to us. So that becomes easier for us to also look into that proposal. However, it doesn't bar you from also sending a proposal, not individual, but as a group. You talked about the pharma companies. So how the pharma companies will be beneficial in the health insurance, that ecosystem from the policyholders' perspective is something which you need to bring out. And only then we'll be able to do something there. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sir, good morning. Myself, Bhupendra Vadia. I'm ex-PSU Insurance Company Executive and currently Senior Vice President, Torque Insurance Broker Private Limited. Sir, no question as such, but two suggestions I have. Maybe if it can be considered. But at the outset, let me thank you and especially give my appreciation the kind of changes and reforms that insurance industry has seen, especially after you are taking over as the chairperson of IRDAI. Really, it has been a very good thing, and we appreciate for that.
Thank you.
Like really, sir, what if you say in Hindi, the circle of insurance industry has been totally changed, and now anybody can think that they can have insurance. So on that, there are two things. When we are all talking about the Vision 2047 insurance for all, there is a one particular class and a mass of the people who are to be specially taken care, and they are senior citizens. When we talk about them, they are working somewhere and maybe up to the age of 60, they are covered under some and some policy. Maybe after that up to 65 or 70. But after that what happens is by the time they reach this age, they may have some problems. Maybe somebody had heart issues, somebody has kidney problem, maybe diabetes or hypertension, something like that. So what happens is that somehow for some reason they are able to manage say 60, 65, 70. And as of now, when the proposer is, or they themselves want to propose when the age is about 75, 80 or maybe somewhere about say above 70 and all, maybe under some excuse their proposals are denied. So what happens is that I am of the opinion that no denial for anybody who comes for insurance. Maybe there could be some different terms and conditions, but that can be imposed like. So if that kind of guidelines can come from IRDAI, it will be a great help for the people who are above 65, 70 to have some insurance cover. But when you talk about insurance for all, this particular class may not have insurance covers. So maybe this requires a special attention of IRDAI to see that they have some covers at least. Because by the time the children also grow up, where they reach 78, 80 and all, and then in their policy also they are not covered. So where will they go? And some kind of disease will come. So I think this requires a special attention from IRDAI, and some guidelines to the insurance companies from your end will be highly appreciated, sir. Thank you. Secondly, sir, I wanted to say that as far as the duration of intermediate is concerned, now I am on the other side after 34 years of working with New India Assurance Company, and I am able to see that the agents, I am also trainer for the agents and BQP training and all. So what happens is that agents, once they have taken a license, I mean, renewal is not at all attention. They have to just complete their training, and maybe up to 100 years or lifetime they can have that particular license. Similarly for corporate agents. But as far as the broking fraternity is concerned, the renewal is every 3 years. Sir, our election, after election, even the elected body also works for 5 years. So in that case, the renewal of IRDA license by the broking fraternity, if it could be extended by 2 more years, maybe 5 years or so, I don't know, there may be some issues or there may be some other, revenue mechanism or something else. But if that can be done under your leadership, and we expect that, I think you can do, sir. आपके समय में हो सकता है. So if something can be thought over this, it will be great help to, all the broking fraternity also. You know that they are giving a very good and handsome contribution.
Sure, I think we've got the question.
Thank you so much, sir.
We need to kind of keep the question
So
short.
very quickly, I'll respond that I said that in my address very clearly that irrespective of the age, for any age, insurance will be provided from an infant, whether it's 100-year-old or 101-year-old, as long as the person is alive, they are entitled to insurance. That's been made very clear in the recent circular which has been issued in 2024 around July. So you kindly take a look. And that too, even if there is a medical condition, that too will be covered. So that has also been. So please go through that circular. It takes care of every situation you can, visualize, will get captured so that insurance is provided and insurance is not denied to anyone. That's number one. The second point regarding the perpetual license for the intermediaries is something which we have already recommended to the government because that entails an amendment in the statute. So that is being actively considered by the government. As and when it happens, then there will be a perpetual license regime. Thank you.
So we'll take one last question.
Can I take?
Yeah, so the gentleman with the mic, please.
Yeah, good morning. Very insightful.
Please keep it short.
Yeah, very short. Yeah, very insightful thoughts shared by you, sir. I am from Risk Advisory, that way one or two safer request. In the cybersecurity compliance, basically the number of control are too large when we comparing with the other regulated entity. So my request is kindly tell your team to just resize it in context of number of control. Second is these assignment are normally authorized to a LLP. So assignment should be other than, say for standard those who are CISA certified. That way, these are two suggestions. You can give a small thought on that, so that the auditee or the insurance company take the benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Noted.
Sure. Thank you. And I think we don't have time for any more questions. The chairman has a flight to catch. So, and knowing Bombay traffic, I don't want to take any risks.
Thank you very much. I think we had a wonderful time talking to all of you. And thank you for also understanding and appreciating that the insurance landscape is changing fast and will facilitate growth, development, and also shared vision with everyone now today that insurance for all before 2047 becomes a reality soon. So wish you all the best and wish us also all the best. Thank you very much.